So Derrick Henry got his new contract. The NFL's rushing leader with the Tennessee Titans has agreed on a 4-year, $50 million contract extension. So I'm not great at math, but that averages out to $12.5 million per year. So Derrick Henry got this deal. And something we talked about a couple of days ago was the possibility of next year's free agent market looking stacked. And it made a lot of sense because had Derrick Henry not agreed to his contract extension, obviously that would have been one guy on the list. Alvin Kamara, another guy potentially on the list as far as a potential free agent for next year. When you look at all the names, Leonard Fournette, we're expecting will be a free agent next year. Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Philip Lindsay of the Broncos, Kenyon Drake, who's currently on an $8 million a year contract thereabouts, Todd Gurley, Marlon Mack. I mean, you got a really significant roster of backs that are all going to hit free agency next year. So one of the things that's really interesting about the game the Saints are going to have to play here is what you do with Alvin Kamara, considering not only the circumstances around the player, but around the position he plays. Let's delve into this a little deeper. So Derrick Henry gets a deal from the Titans. 4 years, $50 million. $12.5 million per year. We know previously Ezekiel Elliott set the mark at $15 million, and then Christian McCaffrey broke that number at over $16 million a year. If you're watching on the far right column, that's the average per year. So look at that column if you're watching, the column on the far right. So McCaffrey set the market. Zeke had previously set it. Le'Veon Bell had set it before that at 13.1, just beyond David Johnson, who had set it at 13. Well, Derrick Henry comes in at 12.5. Normally, when a guy who is the premier player at that position, he's going to come in and reset the market. That's what Michael Thomas did when he got his record-setting deal last year. He reset the market. So what this tells you is that the Titans did not think that Derrick Henry was worthy of resetting the market, that he was not the best running back in football. And clearly, Henry and his representations were okay with that. His representatives were okay with him not getting more than McCaffrey got because there was no way he was going to get it. But where he settled at 12.5 is really interesting because look at who is next on the list. After Derrick Henry's 12.5 is the aforementioned Kenyon Drake at 8.48. So call it 8.5. You have a $4 million gap. I mean, it is basically McCaffrey, Elliott, Bell, Johnson, Henry, gap. Kenyon Drake at 8.4, Melvin Gordon at 8, Saquon Barkley's at 7.7, Leonard Fournette's at 6.7, obviously on a rookie deal. But my point is, with the free agents who have gotten that next contract, you have got a major gap between Derrick Henry and Kenyon Drake. Alvin Kamara, in my opinion, needs to fall somewhere in that gap. He's going to get more than Kenyon Drake because he deserves more than Kenyon Drake for the factor he is within the Saints offense, not just running the ball, but obviously catching the ball as a returner as well. He's just that dynamic. But we also know that he's not going to get McCaffrey, Zeke money because, as we've talked about before, those guys are in on more than 90% of the offensive snaps for their respective teams. Alvin Kamara is in that 70-75% range of offensive snaps. So he's just not on the field as much. He's not going to command that top dollar. So the question is where? For me, I say if you look at Kenyon Drake at 8.5, 8.48, and Derrick Henry at 12.5, you split the difference. Now, and make it 10.5. I think more likely Kamara is going to want to match Henry's 12.5 or close to it. The Saints, I don't think are going to be willing to pay that for a running back, especially when you know you've got DeMario Davis coming up. You're going to have to make decisions on guys like Marcus Williams and Jared Cook and Sheldon Rankins. And obviously you're going to have Ramchick and Lattimore coming up the following year as well. So it's hard for me to imagine the Saints saying, yeah, we're going to give you that 12.5 or more. Maybe they will, but the Saints generally are hard-lined on the number that they want. So, but here's the thing. if that's where they land somewhere in the 10-5 range, I'm good with that. They haggle, maybe go a little more. But we mentioned about there was a couple things. Not only the market, but in the position, but also the market that you're in right now. Remember that in this sort of COVID world, there's a very real possibility. The NFL and the Players Association right now are haggling over how they are going to distribute this loss effectively. The financial loss that the league is going to take this year and how they're going to apply these salary givebacks. Basically, some owners want to take the hit. The Players Association is saying, let's absorb it from 2022 to 2030 on the cap. That's what the PA wants to do, is to spread it out so that you don't have this massive dip in salary in 1 year. Well, some owners are saying, let's just do it and get it over with. Well, if you do that next year, then, and you have this massive salary cap reduction, then what you're going to have happen is you're not going to be able to afford your elite level talent. You're not going to be able to afford some veterans. But what it's going to do is it's going to kill the market for a guy like Kamara. Like, if this cap reduction happens next year, it kills the possibility of Kamara testing the market and really finding top dollar. You're also talking about a year. We just went through all the numbers, all the players, that are set to hit free agency, the running backs. You're going to have a saturated market when that is flooded with inventory, like a saturated market that is down, where if the salary cap is reduced in a flooded market, teams just aren't going to pay for running backs. It would actually, and this is probably part of Derrick Henry's thinking. He could have played this year on the franchise tender and then try to get a contract next year. But if the salary cap is down next year in a flooded market and he asks for an inflated price, the Titans could tell him to take a walk and they'll go sign Alvin Cook or somebody else at a lesser number, whoever would be willing to take it. Very much a buyer's market in terms of where next year, potentially in terms of where teams are. So for the Saints, if they wait, they could potentially be negotiating with great leverage. And if Kamara and his representatives know that, they may be more inclined to take I don't want to say a reduced cost or a team-friendly deal, but something that's going to be more reflective of the market. And look, I love Alvin Kamara, and I want him to be in the black and gold for a long time. And everyone who says that, he's, that last year showed he's not what he could be without Mark Ingram, I think that's baloney. The guy obviously had knee and ankle injuries. He's a magnificent player, and you got to gamble because anybody could get injured. But I'm also not willing to pay McCaffrey, Zeke, Le'Veon Bell money. But would I pay $10 million a year for Alvin Kamara? Absolutely. And I think Alvin Kamara would be wise to take that, considering what could be ahead next year. Now, maybe he goes out this year fully healthy, has it. Why Siri always? What do I say that Siri always hears? Anyway, maybe he goes out this year and has a monster season, and they come to an agreement to spread out this cap issue until 2030, and so he bets on himself and he wins. But the opposite could be true as well for Alvin Kamara. So there's this general assumption like they won't get something done, they'll just wait till next year. I'm not so sure that's the best path for Kamara, and I think it might be the best path for both to get it done this year. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.